eventually when I look back and see those films, I shouldn't have done them.
Oh wow, I've never thought about this at all, ever.
Maybe that's why they made it.
Insiders and outsiders. That's why they've made us sit like this also.
So you are
बीच में बैठो, हम लोग दिखाएंगे कैसे करते हैं.
Netflix promotes outsiders.
I've never told him this, but I remember when I did my first ever round of interviews after Guilty, everyone asked like, who would you like to work with? And I'd always say Ayushmann and Raj.
My father said something has always said something to me that यार काम से काम मिलता है, काम करते रहो.
Mark your calendar, guys. These actors are all set to entertain you with Monica, Oh My Darling. How are you guys feeling now that the film is all set to finally reach the audience?
Feeling excited?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Very.
So what will you guys be serving us with this film?
For buffet?
Interval के लिए?
I think entertainment,
Entertainment, thrill, fun, comedy.
As the trailer has already given a glimpse of how the character is being blackmailed, I want to ask you, have you guys ever been blackmailed in life? Like, not in a serious note. She's
Emotionally
always
blackmailed.
Okay.
Are you sister, parents, anyone?
Yeah.
That's
true, that's true.
Raj, even you must have been emotional.
हाँ, प्यार से कोई blackmail करे तो समझ आता है. Seriously कोई blackmail करेगा तो of course.
सब प्यार से ही blackmail.
Police complain. Yeah.
उनको लगता है वो प्यार ही है.
अच्छा.
Now we're getting on to the health of relationships.
Toxic relationship.
Unhealthy, why no divorce? Yeah.
But ऐसे हुआ है कभी something?
Some people have tried to blackmail me a couple of times, but I was ahead of them.
You're a player. You're actually a knight.
No, I'm so honest that करोगे क्या blackmail?
Correct.
Akansha, since you are like relatively newer to the lot, like how is your experience when you're working with someone like that? Because you've seen their work on cinema.
Correct.
Does it become a little fan moment also?
Obviously, of course, like I've never told him this, but I remember when I did my first ever round of interviews after Guilty, everyone asked like, who would you like to work with? And I'd always say Ayushmann and Raj. So like, I knew
Really?
I've always wanted to work with him.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of Radhika. I know Sikku forever. Huma, of course, I've been watching her work since forever. So obviously, it's super exciting. But
Getting goosebumps.
yeah, so intimidating would be a negative word, but like exciting, definitely exciting. New experience, opportunity, you should make the most of it, which I hoped I did, so yeah.
Sikandar, you tell me you've seen some very highs and lows. What has been, when you reflect upon your journey, what has been your experience and what has been your learnings?
Whatever I get, which is like which now does well, because you don't know. For me, one or two things I've done really well. वो तो कभी नहीं पता कल क्या ठीक, what will happen with what film, what the result is. So whenever something has done well, firstly, I don't believe it, and I'm not sure. And then when it really does, then that taste is really sweet. You know, it's like, oh, this is what it feels like to have been a part of something that's done well. Oh, acha. So, I mean, I'm hoping that I have that feeling more.
Also, when you were starting out and the kind of roles that started coming out, did you want to break out from that best friend character or the character roles that were coming your way, or were you happy because they were strong parts?
I mean, I think, see, my father said something has always said something to me that, यार, काम से काम मिलता है, काम करते रहो. It's damn simple, you know what I'm saying? So, sometimes you'll, in your head, I want to be Tom Cruise in my head, yeah? When you come, your dream is to be the biggest thing ever. And that's the truth. And then, that doesn't work out. I mean, you'll feel a little, I don't even know whether I actually felt disappointed, because I don't know, you just get it, you know, that okay, this has not happened.
But you know, I feel, sorry, can I interrupt?
Yeah,
I feel that only in India you have this character actors and lead actors as differentiation.
Yeah.
In Europe and America, everybody does all kinds of roles, and I think that's how it needs to be. You know, ये थोड़ा कम है, मेरा footage कम है, इनका ये है, मैं ये कैसे करूँ? ये सब नहीं चाहिए. मुझे लगता है कि we should actually blur those lines anyway.
Raj, what do you have to say? Because you've played heroes, I mean, do you agree to it?
I haven't played heroes, I've played characters.
So I agree that actually he's played characters, yeah.
No, I think he's right. I also have done some really small parts, lengthwise, like in Vasepur or Talash. But my thing was to work, not to just sit at home. And as he said, right, you know, if you're sincere towards your work, and it shows on screen, and people would see that sincerity and cast you in other work. That's how it is. You can't just sit there and wait that one day, somebody will come and say, you're the next guy, come. You have to keep working on your craft.
At the trailer launch, you mentioned that you now want to pick up projects that your heart says yes to. Of course, Raj, when you were struggling, when you were wanting to make a place for yourself, have you done films for other reasons? Maybe for money?
Money never. Money was never the priority for me. I've done 1 or 2 films maybe which I said no to them initially, but then I'm an emotional guy and somebody really comes to me 3-4 times, you have to, and then this and that, and I say, acha, theek hai,
Good to know
I'll
that.
do it, yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know that, yeah, Raj.
Not anymore, but
नहीं आप फंसी हो यार.
that's a lesson I've learned. That's a lesson I've learned.
His
that
phone's
if
going to
your-
ring a lot after this interview.
that if your heart says no to it the first time, you should listen to your heart.
Right.
Because eventually, when I look back and see those films, I shouldn't have done them. Yeah.
Right. Radhika, you want to add to that? I mean,
Oh,
what
I've
has
done
been your process?
I've done work for money. Absolutely. So I have, and I'm very grateful for those films to come at that time when I really needed money. But now I'm trying to do work only that my only one rule is if I have a 4 a.m. call time next day, I should feel like I can't wait to wake up and go on set. If I feel like I cannot bloody be bothered, then I don't want to do the film anymore.
Raj, of course, you've been around for more than a decade now. The outsider tag still goes along with you. How do you reflect upon that? How has been that journey for you?
I don't know. I don't really sit back and think about it. Especially now, lines are blurring. I think nobody differentiates. If you know your job, if you know your work, people will welcome you with both their hands. Otherwise, you'll be out of it in no time. So now it doesn't matter where you're coming from. You have to know your job. You have to be good at it and have to keep proving time and again. But for me, I think I feel very lucky that I've come from Gurgaon, and the kind of experience I had that really helps me as an actor in whatever I do now. Especially now things have changed. Cinema has become more real, and the kind of films I do are very realistic in nature. So I have had those experiences in my life which are helping me now, and I've met such people, these heartland stories. So I belong to those places. It helps me. But this outsider insider, I've never really thought about it. I just feel gratitude, nothing else, that this has happened to me.
Yeah. It's a clearly division thing. 2 insiders, 2 outsiders. What's your perspective of the insiders?
Mine,
Oh wow, I've never thought about this at all, ever.
Maybe that's why they made it.
insiders and outsiders. That's why they've made us sit like this also.
So you are
तो बीच में बैठो, हम लोग दिखाएंगे कैसे करते हैं.
Netflix promotes outsiders.
Yeah. No, yeah, but I'll tell. I mean, nobody's gonna give you work, based on where you are born.
Your talent.
Simple. It's you. Yeah, it's your talent also, and it's like so many other factors. You
How you
successful. Many other things the factor in. Like my parents, I don't think I've ever asked anybody also that मेरे बेटे को काम दे दो. Which is
the way,
how which is how it is for anybody.
Today, I know Sikandar as Sikandar, not because he is his parents' son, which he is. I've ever respect for them, yeah.
Having said that, there is a parallel space where
No doubt.
that
That's all.
is there, and that's very prominent as well. But the other side of it has really bloomed, and where there is a mixture of everybody, and it actually works on
I'll
talent.
tell you. I'll give you an example.
But can I just say sorry? One
please.
thing, I just feel that there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
I mean, my father's a doctor. If his son or
No,
daughter.
उसमें difference है. For doctor, you have to study for 5
study
years.
and you have
No, I understand.
You can't just be like one day, Papa, मुझे doctor
understand.
बनना है. अब बेटा clinic पे बैठ जाओ.
I understand. But imagine if you had the money and if your son wanted to be in a film, you would put it.
But then, in my case, I would rather train him or her.
I don't think my father would have put in the money.
I agree. I wouldn't either. But I'm saying that you would put it in the sense. What I'm trying to say that there's nothing wrong in doing that
Can I
either.
say
The
something?
lobby.
Can I
But
say
then-
something? It's not wrong the first time, but then when it's done 80 times, and everyone's like, "Beta, tu
But if it's
doctor
your
nahi ban
money,
sakta."
it's your money. Then there's nobody can say
पर वो
what
भी
you
सही
should
बोल
do
रही
with
है.
your money.
हमारे
That's
पैसे
what I'm
हैं.
saying.
जो करना है वैसे करो, and not
Also, I
judging
think-
other people who've helped their
Yeah,
kids.
Yeah,
No, of course,
yeah.
not judging. Not judging. I'm not
Because
judging as well.
because my point is that we say nepotism. See, I'm not an advocate, so I am all for the equality. But I'm just saying that it's a complex issue because in our country, forget the audience. If you know that अरे इसका बच्चा है, यार 2 साल का है पर अभी स्टार हो गया.
सब जानते हैं,
It's a society we live in. We worship that.
Yeah.
So it's a bigger
Agree.
a discussion. It's
Whoever's
not
doing it is
just
playing to
about-
the audience. No,
Which is why this outside and inside of this simple question, they're simplistic. There's no answer to it. You know what I mean?
And also, I think the audience is way smart. Like, maybe you can get 1, 2, 3 films, but if you don't know it, especially now, people won't waste their money.
There'll
They
be
will
no
watch you on
longevity.
Instagram. like, हाँ ये बहुत अच्छी लगती है, लगता है ये Instagram पे क्या बात है, बहुत followers हैं. But they won't waste their money if you don't know your work.
Right.
And then eventually the producers also won't waste their money.
Yeah.
Correct.
So Akansha and Sikandar, you tell me one warning that your parents gave you about the industry, and both of you also tell us like one fear that you had about the industry when you were entering the business.
Mine was simple, that if you're successful, there's nothing like it. And if you fail, your failure will be public. So just remember that you got to be really, really strong. And this is what it is because they've seen it themselves. And we've seen it with the biggest ever. We've seen it with the topmost stars.
Yeah.
I think that I feel that their whatever pain or their lows must be so much more than somebody else, man. Like when you're number one and suddenly something's not happening or there's a new superstar that's coming, that kind of mental stress would be... But you got to be really strong from inside, and a great support system around you.
One thing they've always said is like, just keep going because there are a gazillion people who will take your place in a second. Like if you slack even for 5 minutes, there are 1,000 people who are ready to be 10 times more hardworking, who will knock on 10,000 doors. You cannot, just keep going. Because if there were days where I was down, I was like, it's not happening. I don't know if I'm ever going to get a break. They're like, okay, quit. 3 din mein someone else. You have to keep going. So I guess that.
I don't know. When I came, I was not really thinking fear or anything. I just wanted work. I was just looking for work.
Your parents.
No, they were very supportive. No fear.
No warnings.
Oh.
That's it. Yes, Radhika.
They didn't know only anything, so what warning?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And that time there was no Instagram and social media, so
Right.
महीने की एक मैगजीन आती थी, सब अच्छा लगता था. बहुत अच्छा है.
My mother thought I was going to get exploited. And somebody once told her some crap. And then she got very stressed when I was leaving. And she was like, you get exploited, your innocence will be taken away now. So I realize now it's as exploitative as medicine industry. So it's fine. They're all the same.